A South Korean oil tanker exited the Red Sea with the first crude shipment since the Strait of Hormuz blockade, which President Lee Jae-myung hailed as a valuable achievement. A 10-day Israel-Lebanon ceasefire is in effect, to be followed by a meeting with Israeli and Lebanese leaders next week, while U.S. President Donald Trump urges Hezbollah to behave. A virtual global summit on securing the Strait of Hormuz is set to begin within the hour, with President Lee Jae-myung joining leaders from around the world in talks hosted by the UK and France. A South Korean vessel unable to use the Strait of Hormuz has safely made its way to and from Saudi Arabia via the Red Sea. And President Lee praised the operation as a successful example of government agencies working together as a team. Our Kim So-young starts us off.
The Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries said a South Korean tanker unable to pass through the Strait of Hormuz safely reached Saudi Arabia via the Red Sea, loaded crude oil there, and has now departed for South Korea. This is the first time South Korea has brought crude oil home via the Red Sea since the Strait of Hormuz was shut, opening a new supply route through one of the world's dangerous waterways. The Red Sea remains a high-risk area because it is a base of operation for Yemen's Iranian-backed Houthi rebels. Since violence broke out between Israel and Hamas in October 2023, there have been 79 attacks on merchant vessels in the region. The ministry said it monitored the vessel around the clock as it sailed through the Red Sea, providing real-time information and maintaining constant communication to help ensure the safety of the crew. President Lee said in a post on a social media platform X on Friday that he had received what he called welcome news that a South Korean vessel was safely transporting crude oil through the Red Sea. The president said the operation was a valuable achievement made possible by government agencies working together as one team. He also thanked everyone involved, especially the crew, for their efforts under difficult conditions. Lee said the government is mobilizing all available resources and will remain fully prepared to protect public safety and the national interest. Earlier this month, the government discussed securing crude oil supplies while monitoring South Korean vessels using the Red Sea as an alternative to the strait. Since then, the Oceans Ministry has worked with the other agencies and the private sector. The ministry said the vessel's safe passage shows the government is delivering results amid growing uncertainty over crude oil supplies. Oceans Minister Hwang Jong-woo said the government will keep working with related agencies and industries to ensure crude oil shipment continue without disruption, while keeping the safety of South Korean vessels and crews as a top priority. Kim So-young, Arirang News.
Israel and Lebanon have agreed to a 10-day ceasefire after 6 weeks of fighting between Israeli forces and Hezbollah. Now, in a deal that is hoped to bring progress toward a parallel peace agreement in the Middle East, U.S. President Donald Trump urges Hezbollah to abide by the ceasefire. Our Jo Young-un has the latest.
U.S. President Donald Trump has urged Hezbollah to abide by the ceasefire, writing on social media that he hopes the group acts nicely and well during this important period of time. The ceasefire, which took effect at midnight in Lebanon, marks a temporary halt following 6 weeks of escalating cross-border hostilities. Trump called the moment a potential turning point, writing that compliance would be a great moment, and later described the day as historic for Lebanon. The announcement followed what Trump described as excellent conversations with Lebanese President Joseph Aoun and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Netanyahu confirmed Israel's participation in the ceasefire, but stressed that troops will remain in a 10-kilometer security zone in southern Lebanon to block the danger of invasion. He also reiterated that the disarmament of Hezbollah remains a key precondition for any lasting resolution.
I agreed to a pause, or more accurately, to a temporary ceasefire of 10 days, to try to move forward with the agreement we began discussing during the ambassadors' meeting in Washington.
The U.S. State Department said the Lebanese government will take meaningful steps to prevent Hezbollah from carrying out attacks or hostile activities against Israeli targets. The terms of the ceasefire also prohibit Israel from offensive military action in Lebanon, but provisions allow for actions deemed necessary for self-defense. Trump also provided a few additional details about further diplomatic efforts, including a meeting in Washington next week between Aoun and Netanyahu, potentially the first Israeli-Lebanese summit in decades. 조영은, Arirang News.
And South Korea has welcomed a newly announced ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, calling it a key step toward easing tensions in the Middle East. In a statement on Friday, a Foreign Ministry spokesperson Park said Seoul fully supports the 10-day truce and praised U.S. President Donald Trump's efforts in helping bring it about. Seoul urged all parties to strictly adhere to the agreement and to respect Lebanon's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The statement also expressed hope the ceasefire will help advance U.S.-Iran negotiations, restore regional stability, and allow for a safe and free passage of vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. In the meantime, U.S. President Donald Trump claims diplomatic delegations from Washington and Tehran may meet in Islamabad for peace talks this weekend, and that he might be there as well. Kim Do-yeon has this report.
U.S. President Donald Trump says a comprehensive agreement with Iran is within reach, claiming Tehran has agreed to almost all American terms to halt its nuclear weapons program. Speaking to reporters on Thursday local time, Trump stated that the two sides are close to finalizing a deal to end the conflict.
We had to make sure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. And we're at that. They've agreed to that. They've totally agreed to that. They've agreed to almost everything.
Negotiations are expected to resume this weekend, with Trump naming Islamabad, Pakistan as a potential venue to finalize the agreement.
I would go to Pakistan, yeah. Pakistan has been great. They've been so good. Islamabad, I might go, yeah.
While projecting optimism on the diplomatic front, the U.S. president publicly criticized Pope Leo XIV regarding the ongoing crisis. Trump claimed the pontiff supports Tehran possessing a nuclear weapon, a statement the Vatican has not made, using the assertion to defend its administration's hardline approach.
I'm not fighting with him. The Pope made a statement. He says Iran can have a nuclear weapon. I say Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if the Pope looked at the 42,000 people that were killed over the last 2 or 3 months as a protester with no weapons, no nothing, I mean, you take a look at that. So I can disagree with the Pope. I have a right to disagree with the Pope.
Domestically, the Trump administration cleared a major legislative hurdle to maintain its current military posture. The U.S. House of Representatives narrowly rejected a war powers resolution designed to force a halt to U.S. military strikes against Iran. The Democrat-led measure failed in a 214 to 213 vote, allowing current operations to continue without congressional interference as the administration pursues a final negotiated settlement. The ongoing ceasefire, in an attempt to come to an agreement between the U.S. and Iran, will end next Wednesday. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Although a ceasefire has halted fighting in the Middle East for now, risks to global energy supply chains persist. A major virtual summit on reopening the Strait of Hormuz is set to begin soon, with South Korea among the participating nations. Jung Hae-rim reports.
President Lee Jae-myung will join a virtual summit led by the UK and France on Friday Korea Standard Time, according to the Blue House. The initiative, co-chaired by French President Emmanuel Macron and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, seeks a multilateral solution to secure passage through the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most vital shipping lanes. Around 70 to 80 participants, including countries and international organizations, have been invited. A senior presidential official said that Seoul decided to join the talks, citing both national and global interests. The official added that President Lee may deliver remarks during the meeting, and staff were preparing for this possibility. The meeting's agenda covers a broad range of issues with a heavy focus on energy supply chains and the broader conflict in the Middle East. However, the official stressed that this international mission will be strictly defensive in nature. The talks come as the United Kingdom is distancing itself from Washington's current policy. Prime Minister Starmer said earlier this week that Britain could not support a proposed blockade of the Strait of Hormuz by U.S. President Donald Trump. France has also emphasized the need to restore free navigation, with President Macron calling for a coordinated, strictly defensive multinational effort. Macron added that the mission will only commence once hostilities in the Middle East have officially ended. Analysts say Friday's summit could help align separate diplomatic and security tracks into a more unified international response. 정혜림, Arirang News.
And global oil prices are climbing again as the U.S. moves to enforce a sweeping maritime crackdown on Iran beyond the Strait of Hormuz and into the Pacific Ocean. International benchmark Brent crude oil for June delivery jumped nearly 5% as tanker traffic through the Strait of Hormuz remains low. And the U.S. benchmark West Texas Intermediate crude also rose nearly 4% to settle at nearly $95 per barrel, nearing the $100 mark again. In a press briefing on Thursday local time, General Dan Kane said the U.S. military will actively pursue vessels linked to Iran, including so-called dark fleet tankers operating outside the Persian Gulf. Now, amid the Middle East tensions, fuel surcharges on international flights are set to reach a record high starting next month. With passengers facing steep additional costs, the airline industry is on alert. Kim Jun-hong explains more.
People heading overseas through Incheon International Airport say their next trips may not come anytime soon.
I'm traveling to San Francisco and Los Angeles, but going overseas is definitely starting to feel more expensive.
I planned a graduation trip to Europe, but it's become too expensive, so I've decided to delay it.
As the U.S.-Iran war stretches beyond 6 weeks, fuel surcharges have jumped to record highs, rising multiple times compared to before the war. With jet fuel prices surging due to the prolonged tensions, airlines are raising surcharges at a rapid pace. According to the aviation industry, the benchmark used to set next month's fuel surcharge, the average price of Singapore jet fuel from March 16 to April 15th rose to about $5.10 per gallon. That pushes the surcharge to the highest bracket, level 33. The surcharge stood at level 6 before the war, but in the space of just 2 months, it surged past level 18 to reach 33, marking the fastest increase on record. This surpasses the previous peak of level 22 seen during the Russia-Ukraine war. Pressure on the airline industry is building quickly. Fuel typically accounts for about 30% of an airline's operating costs, so a surge in jet fuel prices is bound to hit earnings hard. And with limited room to pass on those costs through surcharges alone, airlines are coming under strain. An industry official told Arirang that fuel surcharges cannot be raised freely as they are capped under a tiered system. Once the highest tier is reached, as in May, surcharges can no longer be raised even if jet fuel prices continue to climb. That leaves airlines to absorb the extra cost themselves, putting growing pressure on their bottom line. Facing mounting pressure, most airlines have shifted into emergency management mode. Some are taking steps to cut costs, including unpaid leave for cabin crew and route reductions. Kim Jun-hong, Arirang News.
In other news, President Lee Jae-myung has reminded public officials about the immense responsibility entrusted upon them to manage public resources. Speaking at a progress briefing on government-funded research institutes at the Blue House earlier today, he asserted that their authority and budgets come entirely from the public. He also emphasized the impact of their decisions on the daily lives of people and urged them to do their best. Korea and the EU are preparing to hold a top-level summit to scale up their close partnership in times of global economic volatility. Our Oh Soo-young sat down with the EU's top official on trade and economic security.
Seoul and Brussels are preparing for a summit aimed at strengthening their economic partnership as both sides navigate mounting global uncertainty.
We want to push our cooperation up to another level and to be really working on a strategic partnership where we can focus even more in the field of economic security, because I feel that in this turbulent world you have to work with the partners, friends with the same value set, who believes in predictability, rules-based trade, and I'm very glad that we found such a partner in Korea.
That's according to the European Union's Commissioner for Trade and Economic Security, Maroš Šefčovič, speaking to Arirang News on Friday. He's met with National Security Advisor Wi Sung-rak and Trade Minister Yeo An-gu, reflecting the need for closer strategic alignment.
We're facing growing uncertainty coming from our mutual trade and security partner, the United States, with its tariff policies, trade policies, and of course this ongoing conflict in the Middle East. So how do you think Seoul and Brussels can really work together?
One of the ideas which I proposed to National Security Advisor to the Ministry was that once we set up this strategic partnership, and we hope that this would be one of the key takeaways when we will have the summit between Korean president and the leadership of the European Union in coming weeks, that we should be very concrete in what we want to cover. And one of the elements should be these early warning mechanisms where we would kind of inform each other.
Such mechanisms would apply to supply chains, critical materials, and advanced technologies. Another major focus is updating the Korea-EU FTA to modernise cooperation for the digital era.
Korea would be one of the first partners with whom we are doing this upgrade, and I think it would make also life for our economic operators and traders much easier, because they can use much more of the, I would say, digital functions and e-government approach to trade.
The Commissioner pointed to joint innovation as another key pillar of cooperation. Korea is the first Asian participant in the EU's €95 billion Horizon programme.
Korea clearly has proven that we are one of the most innovative economies in the world. I mean, if it comes to electronics, if it comes to chips, if it comes to pharmaceutical, medicine, or the telecommunication technologies. And here I think we are very complementary to each other. So I would say you are very strong in all sectors which are considered to be economy for the 21st century, economy of the future, from AI down to the modern health technology.
He also welcomed Korea's participation in the Group of 7+ meetings this year. The EU's first commissioner to handle both trade and economic security, Šefčovič signalled optimism for continuous exchanges between Seoul and Brussels going forward. Oh Si-young, Arirang News.
There's a new hit at the box office here in South Korea, Salmokji Whispering Water. So much so that the horror film surpassed its break-even point within just a week of release. For more, we turn to our culture correspondent Park Kon-woo here in the studio. Welcome back, Kon-woo.
Thanks for having me.
So Kon-woo, tell us more about this film, Salmokji.
Yes, so a few whispers about this Whispering Water. Just as you mentioned, this new movie, Salmokji, has been drawing significant attention at the box office most recently. And to give you some more background, the real Salmokji is a reservoir used for agricultural irrigation. And it's also a well-known haunted site alongside other locations in Korea, such as Gonjiam Haunted Asylum and Nulbom Garden, an abandoned restaurant. But before I tell you more, those who dare to go on further, follow me. A must-see movie in Korea right now is Salmokji Whispering Water, a horror film about eerie events unfolding at a haunted reservoir. The film has drawn over 1 million viewers as of Friday, the 10th day since its release, while surpassing its break-even point of 700,000 within a week. No film released in Korea this year has reached that milestone quicker.
The real site has long been associated with local ghost stories, with rumors that spirits are often seen in the area. This has fueled public curiosity, which in turn has helped drive interest in the film and its success.
It has also held onto top spot at the box office for several consecutive days, raising expectations that it could become one of the biggest horror hits in recent years. This is even more surprising as a horror film, typically considered a niche genre, is performing well despite the recent slump in the cinema industry.
Since Exuma, there has been a perception that Korean audiences favor occult films. Building on that momentum, recent hits like The King's Warden have helped draw viewers back to cinemas as people are once again rediscovering the appeal of a theater experience.
But the popularity doesn't stop at cinemas as viewers are expanding their experience by visiting the actual filming location late at night. In recent days, hundreds of cars have been gathering at the site, turning it into something of a pilgrimage.
We see about 20 visitors during the day, but around 100 to 200 vehicles come almost nightly. The number isn't dying down and actually continues to rise, so we're staying alert.
Due to safety concerns, the local government of Yesangun County in Chungcheongnam-do Province, where the real Salmokji is located, has recently prohibited visits from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. the following day. The county also noted that it'll enhance safety measures by installing additional CCTV cameras and nighttime lighting, while seeking to help visitors make the most of their experience from the film to the location where it was filmed.
It's interesting to see people being interested in visiting this haunted place. Now, would you say this is becoming some sort of a trend?
I must say it's a trend. It actually is because this isn't just limited to Salmokji. We're seeing a broader recent trend of people visiting these filming locations. So before I tell you more, first take a listen to an expert.
The growing popularity of so-called screen tourism can be seen as a new trend in Korea. One of the reasons behind this is that people are trying to extend the kind of excitement they get from watching films in theaters by seeking different types of experiences connected to what they see on screen.
The critic added that the surge in visitors to Yeongeulgun County is another example of this trend, with many people traveling there after watching The King's Warden, a recent box office hit. The number of visitors to Yeongeul increased by around 90% in the first 3 months of this year compared to the same period last year. And that's expected to continue with more festivals and tourism promotion programs underway.
Kanu, it's been a while. The last time we saw a horror movie becoming this popular. How popular is this Salmokji film compared to other horror films?
Yes, so Salmokji reached 1 million viewers, as I mentioned, in just 10 days, a pace comparable to the 2019 horror film Metamorphosis, which hit the same mark on its 8th day of release. Metamorphosis went on to attract around 1.8 million viewers in total, so attention is on whether Salmokji will be able to surpass that number. What's also notable is that Salmokji is breaking the long-standing notion that horror films perform best during the peak summer season. In terms of profitability, Salmokji had a pre-ad break-even point of over $2 million, a threshold that it has reportedly already surpassed. And a similar case is the 2018 film Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, which gathered around 2.67 million viewers in spring 8 years ago. And the film's pre-advertising break-even point was a little over $740,000, which is the production budget. So the question now is whether Salmokji will turn into a major hit just like Gonjiam, which significantly exceeded its break-even point.
All right, Kanu, thanks for the coverage as always. I'll see you next Friday.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Unlike today's cooler weather, it'll feel like early summer again tomorrow, with temperatures rising above 25 degrees Celsius. Seoul will see daytime highs of around 27 degrees with large temperature swings, so please take care. It's still raining, but the rain is tapering off at different times across the country, easing up in Chungcheongdo province by tonight, in the southern regions by tomorrow morning, and on Jeju Island by tomorrow afternoon. Mountainous areas of Jeju Island could see over 100 millimeters of rain, with heavy downpours of 20 to 30 millimeters per hour at times. The southern regions will see around 5 to 50 millimeters, while Chungcheongdo province will see less than 5 millimeters. Strong winds are also expected on Jeju Island and along the southern coast, with wind gusts reaching 15 to 20 meters per second. Tomorrow, Seoul will start the day at 10 degrees, Chuncheon at 8 degrees, Busan at 15 degrees. Then by the afternoon, Seoul will get up to 27 degrees, Daejeon at 26 degrees, Daegu at 25 degrees. Looking ahead, daytime highs across the country will climb back above 25 degrees, bringing back warm, almost early summer-like weather. Now here's a look at the weather around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.